And that means we are now live here on our YouTube channel. It's our halftime report, the daily show we put together over here at Tackle Trading with the coaches, where we go through the news, the charts, the price action, economic data. Sometimes we just kind of hang out and tell some stories, whatever is on our mind we think is important, interesting, and relevant, and help you guys better run your daily routine out there. Welcome back. If you're a veteran of my community, you know what to do right now. Hashtag Team Tackle right in the chat. Start the conversation. Let's have a fun, lively show here as we end the week, guys. You know, it's been a back and forth week in markets, but markets are bouncing here today. Some optimism over vaccine rollout. President Biden talked about getting to 200 million vaccines instead of the 100 million vaccines during the target 100 days he launched about January or so. Looks like we are moving towards that. Guys, it's a reprieve day. On a Friday, we are bouncing. We're going to break it all down. We're going to take a look at it. And Coach Frank has some charts at the end of the show to share with us. As always, Frankie, you first. How you doing today, sir?
No complaint. Well, a little bit of complaint. It's snowing. It's the end of March. I kind of in my head, it shouldn't be winter anymore. Mm-hmm. But other than that, no complaints at all. Happy to be here as always.
It's always fun on Fridays. I enjoy this show quite a bit. Every day is always an interesting one.
For sure.
But on Friday, okay, here we are. We're setting up our charts for next week. We're taking profits. We're managing risk. We're assessing what happened in the markets throughout the week. But you're looking forward to kind of wrapping up the show, chilling out through the weekend, Greg. And that's what I love about markets. They don't have to trade 24 hours a day. Greg, how are you doing today, sir?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. Glad to be here with you guys again. This is one of the funnest parts of my day. Get to hang out with you lads and talk about all things markets. So it's fantastic.
I like the dollar signs and the arrows on your chart, Greg. They just scream money going up. I like it, that positive equity curve. Let's talk markets here, guys. Let's break it down one step at a time. Let's start with the technicals. I'll get into the news here in just a minute. Greg, you've got the stick. You're in the driver's seat here of our little show. Why don't you tell us what you're seeing in the chart? Then we'll bring Frank in.
Yeah, so it looks to me, this is the S&P 500 futures here. Looks to me that nice hammer candle we had yesterday, getting some upward price movement today, back above those. I got the 10 and the 20 MA on here. So back above those, sure looks like this could be a pivot, a higher pivot low than what we had back here. So now you're starting to see that maybe this buy the dip thing was ready to go on the S&P 500. You've got a higher high here and you've got a higher low here. Nice bounce off the 50 MA. As far as I'm concerned, the only thing that we run into, a little bit of resistance up here. I got to see what that price level is. Right around the 39.40 level there, we might run into just a wee bit of resistance, which we did a few days ago there. Other than that, I think we're pushing towards new highs.
Mm-hmm. Frank, what about you? What are you seeing in the price action?
I pretty much think almost exactly like Greg. We've got that little bit of old intraday resistance around that area that he pointed out, and in that 39.40 to 50 ballpark. Not really much beyond that until those highs. We're just a couple days in. This is really the first time we've seen good upward movement right off of yesterday's low, but it's starting to show that, hey, that low yesterday is something that buyers do believe in. Right. So from a broad perspective, if you've been a bull, you're very happy with this price action. I think I don't necessarily expect it maybe to go straight up, but I would expect that low from yesterday should become a fairly important support level on this daily chart going into the upcoming weeks. That breaking out breaking down would be a little bit of a concern, because now I kind of think if that happens, then we've made lower highs because we failed to get back to resistance, and we've made lower lows, showing not momentum that we would love to see, at least as bulls.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And obviously the S&P 500 is the most broad-based index, the one we always look at first because it has all of the sectors representation in there. Greg, can you give me a couple of different time frames on this analysis here? Because, I love the daily charts. We always look at the daily charts when we're swing trading on a daily basis. Makes a lot of sense. Intraday, it's looking pretty good here, guys. Yesterday's narrative could have been completely different had the market not stuck support and started to rally here. We are up almost 80 points, about 3% off of Thursday's initial price action at the open that did bring it down. Greg, what are you seeing on the intraday first here?
Yeah, it's working its way higher. It took off from Jump Street today. We got a kind of a cup and handle here. You're at a resistance point here at about 39.27, 28 here. Again, I see nothing that's going to slow us down really between that and 39.40. If we go a little bit deeper here, maybe the 15, you can see that it's just, it tried to fail, a little while ago there, just touched that 50 period moving average here, and it's pushed back up. So there's a lot of strength intraday that we're seeing here. And obviously we're seeing that with the longer term chart as well. So right now, I just don't see anything that's going to stop this. You got options expiration today. So anything can happen, as we have every Friday, but, I just think it's full steam ahead for now.
Frank, what about you on this intraday? You got to love this. And like I said, I mean, now we'd have a very different conversation here today and had the market not stuck support, but that's the nature of markets. They don't go straight down, they don't go straight up, and they have been rattling back and forth. Where's the next level for you? Is it that line that Greg has there about 39.30 or so?
Yeah, if we can break through that, so that's kind of clearly the resistance right now, right? Pushing through that, I mean, there's just nothing to 39.40, right? So just a little more upward movement would probably get some intraday traders to call it a breakout, probably facilitate a little more upward price action. Then into that next level of resistance, that's where we start to kind of see that on the daily. That might be a little scarier, but looks like a pretty clean path from this resistance level into that 39.40 to me.
Yeah, I agree. And it's looking really, really good. Let's back out on the daily chart here and let's go through the rest of the indexes here, Greg. Start with the NASDAQ, the Dow, and then give me the Russell last. And I do want to talk about that cyclical rotation. Russell so very well represents with financials and energy stocks in that composition in the RUT 2000, and it is bouncing nicely today. NASDAQ, then the Dow, then the Russell, Greg, if you can.
Sure. Do you want commentary on it or?
Well, I mean, I don't want you to just click the chart.
Well, just the way you said it, you're kind of pushing me through there.
No worries,
really,
brother.
There's nothing to say here about the NASDAQ as far as I'm concerned. It's still sitting in this consolidation. It's still below your moving averages here. Sideways till further action. I've drawn some lines here, 12.7 and up here 13.3. That's, we got to break out of this consolidation here before you get a direction on tech. So like I said, tech's just kind of just clicking along there. Nothing. It's trying to hold support, which is good, right? That's really what the tech traders are going to want. This could be a pivot setting up here, maybe another run back up to that 13.3. Really nothing much to say about tech as far as I'm concerned today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Stuck in the mud. It's not the story for today, Frank. It is just kind of in that consolidation range, right?
Right. Yeah. Until we break some resistance, and I agree with where Greg has that, it's somewhere in that neutral E area, right? Probably have a slight bullish or bearish lean maybe, but not a really strong signal either way, right? We've got some good movement off of that low. So you have some belief in that low, right? But we're a ways away from that. And on the other side of it, we've not broke resistance, right? So there's definitely belief in there. So yeah, this is a type of chart that can get us into trouble, at least can get me into trouble, because there's not really a clear side, at least in my mind, which means my bias can take over, which I'd rather it not do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And we all do have those inherent biases, one way or the other, specifically with like tech stocks, some of the biggest names out there. So we don't want to let that bias creep in. We want to let the price section kind of churn, develop, and give us a clear signal down the road. It might take some time here, by the way. If I'm projecting out in my head, Frank, I think you got at least probably weeks until you have clarity in this chart.
It's going to be a while. So, if I'm trying to do anything in tech, it will be on individual companies. It won't be on the NASDAQ. It wouldn't be on like XLK. I would be looking at it from a stock picker's perspective, really on both sides, whether I'm looking bullish or bearish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. What about the Dow here next, Greg? Banks are in the Dow, JP Morgan's, the Goldman Sachs of the world. We got energy stocks in the Dow, like Chevron. Some of those areas are bouncing here today. It's been the leader in the market, guys, from an index perspective, the boring old Dow, right? And here we are. A nice little flaggy pattern up there, Frank. I don't know if you'd call that a retracement or a flag. It was pretty shallow. Either way, what would you call that?
You're going to just argue semantics, right? So, call it what you want. I always refer to that as flag E. I just add a Y to the end. So it's when it's somewhere between a retracement and a flag, and I'm not quite sure how exactly I would categorize it. You probably see that in my notes that I send you on Wednesday mornings of the charts I'm looking at. Isn't it flaggy?
I think I got that word from you. Yeah, flaggy. So in the middle, it's a tweener, is what I used to say. It's in between, right?
Yeah, so it's good looking.
It's a good looking chart, and part of the good looking nature of it is the flaggy pattern getting a breakout today. But yesterday's bullish candlestick there,
Sure.
that hammer candle that we put in there. Greg, what are you seeing here in this Dow?
Yeah, so a couple of things that I like. Obviously, the flag pattern you guys just talked about. You've got the breakout above the upper trend line there. Big bounce off this old old support here at 39, say 39.90 there. 31,990, I should say. So big bounce yesterday off there. A lot of strength, closed, well above the midpoint of the candle itself. So really strong there. We had a lot of buying yesterday. The biggest volume you've had in probably, I don't know, 10, 12 sessions there to push that back up. So that was a good sign of strength. What I actually like here, and I always look for this, is you can see how this actually rounded out a bottom, right? And obviously it's a very short-term bottom, but I look for those rounding bottoms because more often than not, if you get those rounding bottoms, you get kind of a little bit of follow through, less so sometimes with the V-shaped, bottoms as well. So I kind of like that, showing lots of strength. As you said, it's been leading, still leading today, just strong, man. It's looking good. So, the Caterpillars of the world and, the industrials of the world are doing pretty well. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's not just those, though. I got to tell you, let me take a look at some of these components in the Dow. I find that, I'm looking at all 30 charts right now. Look at Cisco. We talked about Cisco yesterday. They had some positive news around them. CSCO breaking out, staying on momentum, looking beautiful. You guys mentioned Home Depot and Lowe's, I believe, during one of our meetings yesterday. I've had a lot of people bring it up. In fact, somebody, I think Issachar, just brought up Lowe's in the chat, but Home Depot, the Dow component, looking beautiful, just like that Lowe's is as well, taken off. You got the industrial plays, like you mentioned, the cats and the deers looking good, but like dirt, Chevron, look at CVX, that energy component here. Yeah.
And it's showing well across the board to some extent, I would say.
Yeah, it's looking great. Even Verizon catching the breakout after that W pattern. Greg, you brought that up yesterday, and actually catching a nice little move there. So there's a lot of composition in the Dow, from the banks to the energy stocks to even some of these telecom plays, Frank, that are looking healthy. And you got to give Dow the best chart out of the indexes, don't you think?
I think so. I think they're a pretty clear winner this week with where they are currently.
Yeah.
I got to do a little qualification here, Tim. So yesterday we had our, buy one, hold one, dump one yesterday. And
sure did.
Verizon was pretty much the consensus top pick there. I was talking about it more as a position trade, which it's working out fantastically for that. But I got to give credit where credit's due. Mr. Tyler, Craig brought it up on Trade Masters as actually a swing trade on Wednesday. So I got to give a shout out to my boy there, breaking out nicely. Whether you're looking at this as a swing trade, whether you look at it as a position trade, it looks like you can have your cake and eat it too here. So
it's looking good. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Dirty, boring little Verizon, Frank. Catching the show 3 days in a row. Look at that. All right, moving on to the Russell 2000 RTY. And guys, this one had the weakest looking chart, throughout the week at least. It was down, what were we, 2366 all the way down to support around that 2100 mark. So 260 points or so on the sell-off, 8-9%. But this is after huge runs since November, Frank. I mean, just unsustainable longer-term moves. This is a momentum change by definition. I know we still have a higher pivot high, but we now no longer have a higher pivot low. It's just trying to find support. Frank, what do you do with a chart like this?
Right. You pretty much play it like you just said. Going into last Friday, these guys kind of maybe looked like they had the best setup going into early this week, right? And that failed, pulling all the way back into support. A good thing to see the support hold. You like to see that, but you nail it. It's a shift in momentum, which is a bit concerning, especially for your directional swing trades where we'd like to see movement, right? Mm-hmm. As much as possible. You can see it. All of those moving averages are kind of just stacked on one another, right? You got the 20, then the 9 and the 50 all in one spot. Coach Mark and I call that moving average soup. That usually means you're in a little bit of a sideways range, and as long as that support holds. So until we get some clarity of support or resistance breaking, whichever does come first, mm-hmm. that would be the signal. Until then, it's definitely in the neutrality side of things. This is what you would like the rut to do for your condor trades, right?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, in fact, pull this back to a longer term chart, Greg, maybe 2, 3, 5 years, something like that. I was talking, everybody knows Coach Tyler has a just a fascination with the small caps. He trades them, he watches them, he pays attention to them, maybe more than even the broad markets sometimes, in my opinion. I mean, that guy loves small cap indexes, and day's fine. Yeah, day's fine. Just because momentum changed, Frank, doesn't necessarily mean we have to go into some precipitous downtrend. There's a
Right.
very big difference between a momentum shift and a bearish trend. And until you break support, you still have support on this chart. And if you back that thing back there, Greg, you'll notice the Russell 2000 has taken long periods of time where it does just churn sideways, and it is in its character to have some of that. So I'm wondering, are we moving in towards some of that? It's way too early to call, a neutral condition here. But Frank, if we were ranking the Russell, we would definitely have a major downgrade here on this chart.
I would. This would go into that 40, 45 range where I'm respecting the long-term stuff, but not liking the short-term at all.
Yeah.
And so this support holding, and that this can change pretty quickly, right? The rut can move. There's no two ways about that. So, one thing that I think is really important is, even though maybe there is a bit of a momentum shift, that support holding, some nice upward movement. If you look at the weekly, that lined up with not just the weekly support, but also the 20 weekly moving average, one of Coach Mark's very best friends, pushing it up. So it's a shift in momentum, like you said, Tim, much more than it's in trouble. We break that support, then we can start having those conversations. But I think it's too early to make that proclamation.
Still obviously on the bullish side of things in that regard. We're not exactly bearish here. Let's not ever get that wrong. The momentum change, like Frank just clarified there, is a very big difference than just saying something's bearish. So shift in that trend, a shift in the character. The weekly charts are still healthy. We'll see if it can bounce. Still has support. It may bounce here, Greg. And so much of the rut, by the way, today is looking good underneath where many of these components actually live. The metals companies are looking beautiful. Look at XME here, Greg. Steel across the board. In fact, US Steel was up like 10%. I was looking at it earlier. Nucor's up big. Metals are bouncing. A lot of composition in the rut around industrial metals, those type of things. We're seeing financial bounce. So many regional banks, those types. Give me an XLF real quick there, Greg. And US Steel has been a wonderful mover. We can talk steel in a second. Financials are bouncing as well. A lot of the big banks are getting reprieve because the Fed said that you can start paying dividends again and buybacks after June. So they got a little bit of a bounce there. But energy's making a comeback here too. And Frankie, I think we're going to have some fun ranking these sectors later, my friend. I don't think they're going to be short conversations, quite frankly.
No, it's going to be some weeks, it's going to be really easy. It's going to be a maintain or, an easy upgrade, easy downgrade. This has been a little tougher stretch. And so it is going to make for some really interesting conversations.
I agree. Yeah, we're going to have some conversations with the coaches. As you guys know, if you're pro members, we put together our newsletter each and every week where we rank every commodity that we find important, all the markets we find important, as well as the sectors. And those sector ranking conversations are some of the fun ones for me personally, because you can dig into some of the components. Greg, this energy chart is bouncing, frankly, for a lot of different reasons, but it was holding up so much better than crude oil. But give me crude oil next. Crude has had a funky week, to say the least. Zoom in on those candles. Frank, last Thursday, crude just absolutely took it on the chin, down 7%. Reprieve day on Friday, doji on Monday, and then bang, 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 4 candles in a row. Big red candle, big green candle, big red candle, big green candle. When you get volatility spike like this on a commodity after a long trend, how do you digest that? How do you use that price action to help you understand what's going on?
I think it kind of shows that everybody else is wondering the same thing, quite honestly. Is this bad? Is this good? Does it matter? Do we buy this dip? Should we stay away? It really becomes a very day tradery type of market with that intraday volatility, right? And it becomes a fairly annoying market for maybe the swing traders, because you've got big stop losses or you're going to be getting constantly knocked out, right? So I think it's in an interesting place where, we're kind of getting those moving averages, pushing into one another. I don't think there's a lot of clarity on this. And when I don't think there's a lot of clarity, whether or not there ends up being, in hindsight, I think, I should have. When I see something that seems off, seems like it's changed a little bit, I usually throw up the caution flag. Now, I still like the overall trend, and I do think that our energy stocks are the places to be to look into this pullback. Obviously, breaking through the top of that range over the past week or so would be beneficial, I think, to them. But on the crude specifically chart, I wouldn't want to touch this right now personally.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, somebody could potentially map out a trade above this little 6 candle, kind of consolidation here on the intraday, but you guys, somebody else can take it. That's not
Exactly.
me. It's like for me personally, I'm going to play energy stocks. I love the space. We've loved the space for 4.5 months. We've been talking about it a lot. And as crude is popping back up here, if crude does catch a breakout, it should just propel the XLE and many of those big names in energy as well. Greg, it's mandatory. My Canadian friend, you have to talk oil whenever we bring up oil. It is part of your job, my friend. To be a Canadian means you have to have an interest in the oil markets, and I know that you do. What are you seeing here?
Yeah, you know what? I got to echo Frank's sentiments there. As far as I'm concerned, this is only a day trade. Like this is an intraday type of trade. I pulled up the 5-minute chart there. You're at some resistance now, but you would have had some opportunities earlier today. Breakouts and whatnot to enter. Day trades, things like that. But really, with these giant candles like this, unless you've got a really big risk tolerance, so the top of this was 61.35 and the bottom was 57. So that's a 4-point move in a futures contract. That's big money, right? So I don't think you can really do much other than day trade these intraday. As for the overall chart, it's trying to find its personality right now, right? It was running real hot. It's come back down now. It's there's a fight here. Right, the bulls and bears are in the ring. They're slapping each other and saying, "Okay, we're going down. Nope, we're going up. We're going down." Really, you got to let that play out. And anybody who knows me, I'm a big level guy, right? I need some levels broken before I'm interested. So I'm watching this level down here at 57. I'm watching this level up here at 62. A break of either one of those, then I could be interested in trading again until this figures out what it wants to do and get rid of its manic personality, get maybe some more movement like we had back here with the smaller candles. And, then you can start looking at directional plays. Other than that, I think the other thing is, you can look at individual components, right? The futures chart is kind of crazy, but there's some individual companies that are showing some nice recoveries, right? Things like that. So you don't necessarily have to play the futures, but you can kind of see what it's doing and, set yourself up. If you see this kind of, battle or neutrality right now, you could still set up trades in individual stocks. And so really from a commodity standpoint, the battle's raging on and until they get their issues worked out, as far as I'm concerned, it's just hang tight with the futures chart.
I agree. I agree. And I guarantee over the weekend, there's going to be at least a couple of companies from the energy sector on those reports, Frank. There's just too many good charts and we're going to find a few that we like the best.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
It is kind of interesting on crude. On the intraday, it might be a K trade type of candidate. If you're a day trader where you just waiting for the signal, like Greg kind of pointed out, would expect when we first break one way or another, there should be some pretty good short-term momentum that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you guys. Let's keep working through commodities if we can. Let's take a peek at gold next. And the precious metal has been hanging around. Kids got alligator blood, Frank. It's over. You get the reference? Anybody?
I think I should, but I don't.
Okay, I'll leave it out there. Somebody in Team Tac will get it. I'll let you know in about 10 seconds. But gold is just kind of hanging out in this little range here. It's been putting in over the last 10 bars or so. It's officially still a bearish retracement. I believe it does break down. It's still in the character of the trend, but there's something different in the feel of gold. We watch gold. We think about gold. We look at gold on a regular basis. We analyze it all the time. Guys, it feels like it wants to find some support down here. Now, I don't know if it will or will not do that, but Frank, what are you seeing in the nature of that chart?
It's way too soon to get excited about it, because I would agree with you. It is still in the bearish retracement category, and until we break resistance, I don't really have any interest in anything. If you're not breaking resistance, I don't want to buy you. So I need to see that, but I can't see why you're seeing it kind of had a break above the 9, right, last week, kind of riding that rolling 20 right now, still would be a really bold trade, in my opinion, to be ready for gold. But if we do end up putting a higher low, and this floor that's kind of developed over this past week or so ends up holding and we break resistance, that is interesting to me. That is interesting to me. But we're a ways away from that happening. And at least technically speaking, I wouldn't get my hopes up, at least short term.
All right. So now the reference, because I don't care much about the gold analysis right now. I apologize. I do. Long term, I'm very interested, but short term is kind of hanging around, right? The reference, Frank. Rounders, Teddy KGB, John Malkovich, 1998, the great poker movie.
Oh yeah,
I know the movie. I don't remember the alligator blood.
Hanging around, kid. It's when Matt Damon is sitting there at the very end of the scene, very last scene in the entire show, and Teddy KGB keeps pushing him, but he can't beat him. Yeah, it was a bad impersonation. I will give you that.
It wasn't great. Mark loved that movie. You know,
that's one of my favorite movies of all time. Actually, I love that movie.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it plenty. I'm surprised. I should have got the reference, but I'm slipping in my old age.
No, my bad. Didn't exactly nail the John Malkovich. I'll keep my day job here on the halftime report, guys.
See, I was thinking about Gator in the other guys, where Will Ferrell split personality. That's who I was thinking about.
Another good reference.
That's fantastic. All right, quick peek of the dollar. Not much to update here on the dollar today. Like Coach Matt's been talking about, U.S. economic recovery has been much faster than the rest of the world. The dollar index has been benefiting from that over the last several months. Really since the beginning of the year, guys. We stuck that bottom down there at 89 on the index. We're now up at 92, slight reprieve. I don't see much here to get me excited about being long or bullish dollars. That's not the play long term, obviously, with how much money the Fed is printing. Greg, what do you see in the chart, though, if anything?
This is. I think this is something that you're seeing spill over to the crude market too, right? Some of the reason, and not all of the reason, obviously, but some of the reason why the crude kind of took it on a chin recently is the stronger dollar, right? So you still got it priced in U.S. dollars, and the stronger dollar makes that stuff more expensive, typically for commodities. So for this year, we've got some solid resistance up around 93.50 there. It has broken this resistance down here around the 92-ish mark there. So it's working its way higher, but you're running into a whole bunch of noise here. So I'm not sure I'm seeing it much above 94 anytime soon. But it's the reality is you could make the case that this is in recovery, right? You've got some higher highs, you've got some higher lows. Now, the only thing that concerns me, and I drew these lines on here, not today, but earlier, is this kind of looks like a wedge pattern to me. And a lot of the time you see these wedges up, they tend to fail to the bottom sometimes. So I don't know that it's going to go straight up to the next resistance level. You got to kind of watch it play out. But yeah, longer term, nothing to do with the US dollar for me.
I point out how irritated I am that the Canadian toss $ DXY is working.
Hey, I'll trade you your $ DXY for real-time futures data. I'll trade you straight up, buddy. No problem.
No, I'm good. I'm just a little bitter.
There can't be no complaining there, Cody. We got the Canadian light version of this thing, and it sucks. Let me tell you. So. Anyway.
So who has the bigger beef with toss? I'm guessing Greg just trumped you there, Cody.
Yeah, he did. He did just trump me.
He did. He had a little bit more passion in his voice. By the way, the dollar, I'm really curious to watch this thing play out through the rest of the year because, so much of this has been around the U.S. reopening, vaccinations, all those headlines, the rumors. As soon as we get that globally and we start to get some of the juice going through Europe, instead of COVID lockdowns, we get COVID opening. You can see the algorithms in the news start driving those narratives. It might turn these currency markets over. And I do think dollar dropping would end up really benefiting many areas in the equity markets and commodity markets as well. So it'll be interesting to watch this thing. Cody, you want to add anything to add to the currency markets here?
No, last week when I had to fight my way to get my opinion on the dollar, I actually pushed for that bounce and that recovery. And it doesn't look like it's got the 200 on there, but it's actually kind of running right into that 200 right now. So as Coach Greg said, it's got some resistance that it's got to get through in order to really continue on with this push, because it's running into that 200 daily moving average. Not to mention all this different stuff to the left of the chart that I like the move I'm seeing in the dollar, and I like the way that you said it with, it's the U.S. economy is recovering faster than other economies, so it's the least ugly of the bunch is pretty much what it is. So it did have a nice move. I like the bullish move that we've seen over the past month on the dollar, but it could slow down from what we're seeing here with all that resistance ahead of it.
Good. Yeah, I agree with that. And obviously check those Forex reports over the weekend from Coach Cody. He's been doing that for a long time for us. Does a great job in the currency markets, kind of analyzing all that and breaking it down. Last one, Bitcoin here. And Frank, really, most importantly, I just want to get a technical read. There was some chatter about Fidelity applying for a Bitcoin ETF in the last 24 hours. Those storylines are going to continue to pop up till the SEC finally ends up granting those requests. But Frank, you also have a change in character here in this chart, just subtly. Still have a higher high, and I think you still have a higher low, but I'm going to need your read on that. What are you seeing here on those pivots?
Yeah, I mean, as on your pivots, I think you're fine, because I think your real pivot's down there at that 45. And I think that's your real line in the sand. We've taken out clearly some short-term stuff, right? When we kind of failed that little bounce off of the 9 back on what would have been the 17th or something like that, 16th, 17th, where we kind of tried to break out, came back to the 9, hammered and tried to break out again, then took out that low. So very short-term support, I think we have taken out here. I always hate these things that have the great momentum and then go into these ranges. I usually just put them on the wait till they break out list or something more clear developed, because I do think that there is again a subtle shift in the momentum change. I don't like the fact that we failed the breakout. Doesn't mean anything necessarily, right? I don't like that we've pulled back, we've broken through some shorter term stuff. Now it's Bitcoin, and I still think that you aren't a bear on Bitcoin by any stretch. It's just, where do you find yourself as a bull? And with this chart, for me at least right now, I would need to see it break out, at least as it is, or something to that effect before I got excited.
Yeah, I would agree from a technical perspective. I'm a long-term investor. I really don't get too worked up on my decision-making with Bitcoin, specifically on short-term price action. You want to see, as a long-term investor, healthy trends, all that kind of stuff. Most importantly, though, I want to see Elon Musk stop tweeting about it and actually have maybe the conversation just get back to something a little bit more normal, but we'll see. Bitcoin doesn't necessarily do what you want it to do. So we'll see that thing play itself out. Let's move into stock talk here next, if we can. And I know
Bitcoin, is that still a thing? That's
yeah, it's still a thing. Although I'll tell you, Greg, I mean, old school, old money thinking, Ray Dalio, right?
I do. Yeah.
Ray Dalio,
hedge fund guy.
Yeah, he wrote that book. What was it? Principles, the big one a couple of years ago. He's a big, hedge fund guy, Wall Street guy. He was saying Bitcoin should be banned. In the last 24 hours. He's like, listen.
So is he shorting it, or is what side of the trade is he on? That's what I'd ask.
Listen, I read his article and I read through his commentary, and I just think he just don't like it. He doesn't like the disruptive nature of what it's doing to the markets, the speculative nature of it. He thinks the government should come in and do something about it. But he's not the first or last person who's going to have commentary about it. And by the way, crypto and Bitcoin people do not care what those people have to say about those things.
No, they don't.
No,
they don't.
No, they don't. All right, let's talk about some stocks here, guys. And Frank, you got charts, I believe?
I do have a few, yeah.
The Friday crew, the halftime crew here, I know they eagerly anticipate Friday afternoon when Coach Frank brings some charts to share with the team. So we'll be looking forward to that here in just a minute. Greg, I don't know why it is, but Ford Motor seems to be in the news every time you show the halftime report. They are stopping production of the F-150 for the next 4 days, which might not seem like a big deal. It's probably not that big a deal long term. Supply chain disruptions again, guys, is creeping into GM this week. They had to shut a plant down in Missouri. Ford now having to stop production of its most profitable and the most sold vehicle in the history of vehicles, by the way. The F-150 is the most sold vehicle in the history of vehicles. And they have to shut that down for a few days. Obviously, the chart is not really being disrupted by that. It's just going to be a temporary thing. Frankie, you have any interest in these GM Ford type of plays? Because these automakers have been hot in the last 4 months.
Yeah, I do. And I kind of like the move that we've seen the last 2 days here on Ford. I was hoping to see it hold that old resistance. It did, of course, push all the way down to the 50 yesterday before rallying up. Now it's kind of working into that trend line that's coming on the downside. What I want to see, and I am interested, what I'm looking for personally is it to drift a little bit down from where we are here and then take another run, taking out today's high and those moving averages early next week, that's the signal that I'm looking for. That would have my attention on Ford.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. That little flaggy type pattern up there, little breakout, little move, I think would grab my attention as well. Just quickly peek at GM so we can cross compare, by the way, Greg. I think they're going to look almost identical. No, little subtle differences in there.
Yeah, there's differences. Yeah. I prefer the Ford chart right now. Personally, they're probably going to run overall together. I would imagine. I think it's a little easier to build a trade, at least to my eyes. It's a little easier to build and kind of see what exactly I'd like to see on Ford versus GM right now, but I wouldn't fight the other way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. All right. Next one here, staying with auto production. This one in the EV market out of China, NIO, if we can. They also have NIO. They have to shut down their manufacturing plants based on a worldwide shortage of semiconductor chips. They don't have enough to do it. I believe they had to also cut all of their forecast on vehicles delivered, which they are not a Ford, pushing out as many vehicles as the F-150, Frank. So any kind of production company cuts to a company like this that is still very much speculative about their future, it's going to hurt them a little bit more. Frankie, what are you seeing here? Because this is a very different chart, obviously. We are now pushing the 200, even threatening a breakdown.
And that's exactly what you're seeing here. It's really tough to want to bet against that 200, especially since this will be the first time that we've tested it, I think, ever, and certainly in the recent past. So I do want to see how it responds at the 200. But if we take out that support level along with the 200, and the 200 lines up pretty darn close with the weekly 50 or I'm sorry, no, it does not. I was thinking about somebody else. That break though would be something that I think you could try to work with. I think you need it to kind of flatten for a few days, see the buyer, see if there's any buyers that are tempted off of that 200-day moving average. Think you need to take that out. I would not want to go short anything right above the 200 because I'd always want to kick myself if it bounced, thinking I should have probably respected that 200. So that 200 is what makes this a tough trade, in my opinion, right now. If that line didn't exist, and I do respect the 200, I've seen way too many bounces to not. But if it wasn't for that, I'd probably have this on a bearish breakdown list to talk about this afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you could make that case. I probably would hesitate on it. Obviously, now it needs a little bit of time to churn, like you're talking about, but it's not bullish. Let's call it like that. Broke that 50, broke those moving averages, rolled over, and now we're pushing lower. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because that 200 bounce, you've seen it too. You all have, right? Just it seems like it's impossible that it holds, and then it does. And you think, wow, who in the world would buy that? So I'm not going to be the guy that would buy that, but I'm very interested in technically how this plays out.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And one more, maybe two more in the news. And then I've got a couple upgrade downgrades. Microsoft, Frank, the news earlier this week, there were rumors about Microsoft potentially purchasing Discord.
I saw that.
For $10 billion. Actually, now the Wall Street Journal was reporting last night, those rumors are not just rumors. They're moving forward with very, very serious negotiations. Maybe the deal's not imminent, but they're in some serious discussions. I don't know if it'd be good for Discord, by the way. I do know it would be great for Microsoft because I know the value of what Discord can bring.
Right.
Frank, you're a gamer. Talk a little bit about this.
Yeah. I mean, basically, it's a gamer's Zoom Slack combo, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe a way to kind of to put it. If you don't play video games, it's where you can interact with other people that you play that game with. You can chat, you can voice chat, you can post stuff. It's pretty cool, and it's very popular. I'm an old gamer, so I'm very not tech savvy at it, but it's very popular amongst the younger gaming crowd.
100 million daily active users.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that number at all. People love it. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a little technologically challenged. And so I kind of use the bare bones version of it. But it is that's a good deal for Microsoft, in my opinion, because that is, and I don't see that going away. That is entrenched in the whole gaming community. Mm-hmm. As Tim says, it's used by basically even old me who, can hardly figure out how to turn on a webcam sometimes. Even I can at least kind of use it. I just can't do the cool stuff. So that is a pretty good get. I like the get for Microsoft. Like you said, I don't know how it goes to Discord. We'll have to see.
Can we play Pac-Man or Donkey Kong Jr. on Discord? How's that work?
Well, we can
For,
play
for
Pac-Man
old people like me.
while we're on. No, that's not how it works, brother. We
Oh,
can
okay.
play Pac-Man while all of us are on Discord, hanging out, talking about how Frank is better at Pac-Man than you are. You see?
Oh,
And
okay.
then we can
Nice.
post memes with each other about how much we love Pac-Man and all that kind of stuff. And then
Right.
we can have an entire conversation for months and months and months, where literally it brings a community of Pac-Man lovers together to just share those experiences. Now, Pac-Man
Okay.
is just one example of that. Think about a million other games, and that's what Discord is.
So if I go downstairs to my stand-up full-size arcade game and I turn on Pac-Man, so you guys can see that and Frank can chirp me. Is that what I'm hearing?
You know, you then also have to log into Discord as well. Think of Discord like Slack for our internal conversations, or even Zoom. I think Frank nailed it right there. Zoom, Slack combo almost. Yeah.
Nice, fun.
Yeah, gamers love it, bro. I got to tell you, they really love it. They spend a lot of time on it. I'm on the side of, I think Discord would be better off on their own, IPOing and going into the public markets. I do know they would have a brighter market cap future, Frank, but when you're looking at a $10 billion payday right now, I'm sure that that's still very, very tempting, right?
Right. Yeah.
What's the difference between, say, a Discord and like Xbox Live? Like I'm not a gamer, so I don't know, but like, aren't they very similar? Like, can't you do the same things? Like on Xbox Live, aren't you talking to your buddies and doing all that kind of stuff? Or
kind of
probably not a message board or anything, but
Discord's more like a destination as well as kind of like a home base for you, you know, throughout the day or the week as you're playing games with your buddies. By the way, it's not just for gaming. There's a lot of Discord channels for day trading.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of Discord channels for all kinds of different communities. People that it's just a way to bring people together. It's a community type device. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
It's
Very
really
cool.
Couple of other upgrade downgrades caught my attention here. Do you guys know the company Root, ROOT? You ever traded it?
Not traded it. I've ran into them a few times in scanning, but I've never traded them. I do not believe.
I'm not chasing the news here, but I'm going to start looking into this company a little bit more. This is an auto insurance company, you know, recent IPO. And, you know, there's a firm called Citron Research that got all caught up in a lot of the short selling, GameStop mania and all that kind of stuff in January. The firm decided we're not shorting anymore. We're only going long. And they issued a hugely bullish call, calling this a disruptive auto insurer in the industry. The company's up 16% earlier today. Now it's only up 10 on that news. People respect these guys' opinion quite a bit. I'm interested. I'm interested enough to at least do some research, see what they do. Frank, there's nothing there in the chart that I can do with anything yet, right?
No, but I mean, if this is something I'm really interested in, especially from a longer term point of view, right? I am looking for, if we get a little bit of a dip off of this into that, we just had the 9 cross the 20 for the first time in a heck of a long time. We've actually seen kind of a little scoop right off of that bottom. If we were to pull back a little bit and get something decent, right, which is, you know, hard to tell that that's what we'll get. If it was something I truly liked from a position point of view, that would probably be my first. I would want to scale in with the newness of the stock and the real lack of clarity from a history perspective. But that would be the first thing I would look at as a first initiation, to be quite honest with you. So if this is something, so if you do your research and sell me on it and we get a pullback, that would be, as long as that pullback is, above that 9 in the relatively near future, right? That would need to happen. That would be kind of where the initiation phase would begin for me.
Yeah. And if we can get that, it will start to develop, build us some different trends. I mean, you can take your time on a chart like this. You don't have to be in a hurry at all.
Right. Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, this is a tough swing trade, even though the volatility is there, right? This is tough to swing trade because, well, is it repeatable, right? Or you just, I like Root, and so if it's not repeatable, I'll never say it's a good swing trade. However, it works out, whether it's me making it or somebody else. But if it is a position, I'm looking for those opportunities. I've seen that first sign, and then the news certainly helping that for sure. But I'm not going crazy because it is kind of the first sign, right? It is kind of the first sign that we've seen, and that's not ever going to be enough to get me to go all in on anything, no matter how much I might like it.
You wouldn't entertain a breakout trade here? Is the 50 too close?
No, a breakout trade would be in play too. So basically what I would expect is I would expect that we get to the 50 and then the 50 pushes us down, and that pullback is where we see if there's real interest.
Right.
Now we might just fly right through the 50. We might just tank tomorrow, right? I don't know, but that's what I'd want to see, work towards that 50, because I would expect that to be the primary resistance catalyst. It also lines up with that, not a lot of history on these guys, but they did have a little pivot back there at $17, earlier this year. I would look at that as kind of the catalyst to get some profit taking coming in. And if the buyers were willing to come in off of that pullback, that's what I would prefer. However, with that said, Greg, if the way it worked out is we, high based up there and then broke out, that would also be a signal I could work with.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I see that Coach Emily has joined us, which I think means that she's here to hear from Frank about his charts, right? I know you.
Frank's here. He's got his camera on. I can see the beard and the hair. Why would I not be here on a Friday?
So it's awesome to have you. And you got women in trading tonight, right?
And I've got women in trading tonight. So it is a beautiful Friday for me. Nice.
Are you going to tell us what you're going to do, or is it still top secret?
No, I'll tell you guys what I'm going to do.
All right, tell us all about it. We just can't go. Well, I'm gonna pause.
I always tell you
away.
what we're going to do. But you guys just can't show up.
Maybe I just don't listen because I know I can't go. So, well, the floor is yours, Em.
Well, maybe one day, just maybe one day, you'll get an invite, a personal invite. I'll poll the ladies and see who they would like to invite first as the honorable gentleman to join Women in Trading. But that decision will not be up to me. It will be up to the ladies that attend.
There you go. I would just tell us to get lost and say, give it up, boys. You're not getting in. You can keep trying, but you're not getting in.
Oh God, no. We're going to talk about decluttering our portfolio. When we get started as traders, we add all these things, all these indicators, all these moving averages, all these different strategies and stuff like that. And then we end up realizing that, do we really need all this stuff? We need to simplify it, especially when you have, volatile markets and you've got all these different trades on and really don't know how to manage them. So we're going to talk about some decluttering and just keeping it simple and just, using what works and getting rid of all the stuff that doesn't work. Kind of like how we do it when we, clean out our closets with clothes that don't fit anymore. Mm-hmm. We've all gained a couple of pounds during COVID. So I'm pretty sure all of us need to go in our closets and donate some clothing. So we'll do the same thing in our portfolio tonight and just kind of go through and scheme out what we don't need in there.
Nice. Feel free to donate those stocks over here, Em. We'll take them.
Now, some stocks, I'm pretty sure, some people, and the thing I was talking about is I was talking to a student before. They said, well, I want a cash flow in my IRA, and we looked at their portfolio, and they still have mutual funds that they rolled over from their old job. And I go, well, if you want a cash flow, you really can't do that with a mutual fund that doesn't have options or stocks that don't have options. So you've got to get rid of all of these things, right, before we can even talk about what you're doing. So it's just that kind of stuff and having that kind of discussion.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
By the way, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight will be the Women in Trading webinar. It is free to everybody. That is not a paid thing. We want to invite anybody who wants to share the idea of investing.
Not
and trading.
Just anybody, only females.
Ladies, that's right. Bring the ladies. Invite somebody in your life to come and attend. And you can find that webinar on the events page of Tackle Trading or under the Women in Trading blog, which Coach Emily actually wrote a really wonderful blog here today about the topic she's going to be discussing tonight. So go catch that blog as well, but we're not going to delay this any further. Frankie, you are up with charts. It's time.
All right. I have to follow Em. Well, you guys, gals, have fun. Em, I always tell people, that I don't know what's going on in there, but I know you're getting good work done and having a good time doing it. And I'm pretty confident in saying that.
Yes, we always do.
So I can imagine. All right. Well, a little tougher week, right, with the kind of back and forthy nature of this market, but there's always some things out there that kind of catch your eye. So maybe I will start with AME today, Greg. AIM Tech. Got a little breakout maybe happening here today, depending on how you want to view it. I like to see it. We've been very sideways. These guys aren't a huge mover, right? They're kind of one of those somewhere maybe in the middle between a position trader and a swing trader's kind of cup of tea, right? So I would imagine there will be some traders out there who don't like that characteristic, and I would understand that argument. if you're not one of them, one thing I like about it is we are in the industrial space, which is kind of leading, or one of the leading areas in the market. Clear skies above us, no overhead. We've started to see, even before today's break, a little bit of separation on the 9 and the 20 as it's just stuck in that range forever. So this would just be a boring little breakout play. Could probably look at something from a stop loss a little bit below today's low / the 90 MA. I would call today's candle as it sits right now confirmation. If we could break above that high on Monday, I would confirm this as a breakout personally. Where's the rest of the crew's thoughts though?
Greg, you first.
I actually love this chart, and I think it's all in the way you play this too. So I love the breakout of a triple top here. So boom, boom, boom. We hit 3 times, strong into this last one there. So I really like that. Because it's not a fast mover, I think this is where you've got to set up the right trade. Whether you maybe do a diagonal spread, maybe you do a longer term bull call. I don't know what the options are like. I haven't looked at it. If you're just trading the stock, that's fine because there's no time component to it. But if you happen to be doing this with options because it is a higher dollar stock, you got to make sure that you're going to give yourself enough time to reach the targets that you set and not get hurt by the time decay. So I love the setup. I think that you just have to set the actual trade up in the right manner. That's how I see it. But love the chart.
Options are tricky on this one. They're okay.
It's
theoretically possible you could play them. There's not a lot of great options on it though. The 175-day September has a $1 spread on a $7 option, but theoretically possible. Probably going to avoid the option. You do it stock here, I would guess.
When in doubt, I firmly believe you don't mess around with the options. You don't want to get stuck in an illiquid option, right?
Cody's no longer here, but the biggest complaint any Canadian trader has, they don't get those free stock commissions like we do here in the US, right, Greg?
No, we don't.
So
we're still getting our pockets pulled out. So
that's a legitimate legitimate complaint. Nice.
I'll add to this one here just one quick thing. Look at the weekly. I like it better even on the weekly. You know, I see it on the daily. It's a great consolidation there, overlapping candles, kind of chopping. On his weekly, we were catching up to moving averages with this consolidation over the last little bit. Now we're breaking into that new high, Frank. It's a legitimate breakout here for a stock trade.
So I thought so, and I like the movement. I like the space. We don't have to take an in-depth look. You're seeing other breakouts in like OTIS, in the space. Night transportation, KNX breaking out here today. So you're seeing a lot of this type of action over in some of those industrial places. Honeywell isn't very clean on a breakout, but I think it's trying to do so. So there is some, it doesn't have to be any of these names that I brought up, but I am definitely seeing some nice breakouts in that industrial space coming into next week.
Yep, I'm with you.
And we lost Cody. One more, and I brought this one up on Trade Masters, and I think it might be my favorite breakout candidate of the industrial bunch, and it hasn't broken out yet, and that's CARR. Carrier Global, just a triple top, much like our friends at AME, a little, I don't know, less chop maybe in the recent days, right? But a very clear top. Again, it's going to be one of those, Tim, where if you go in and look at the weekly chart, it might stand out a little bit more or less. Nice long trading range. I still like a breakout here. Obviously, we have not got that yet. I like the last couple of days of price action, though. I like that we pulled back into that 9 and at least have established a little bit of support. So I'm still putting these guys on my breakout list going into next week. Thoughts?
I love this one.
You like this one, Em?
I like this one better.
What do you like about this one?
Well, I like to keep things simple. I look at the picture and the picture makes more sense to me. When it's too choppy, I'm like, nah. But this, you can clearly see, the resistance. You can see where support held. It still has not broken resistance yet, so you can still plan and time it. I just love the simplicity of it.
Yeah, I think this one's better. It's a lower dollar stock, so you can get into it. It's got more liquidity than the first one we looked at as well. Like you got a couple million shares being traded here today. The other one only had about 315,000, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I like this, a breakout of a round number there as well, right? Get above that high Yeah, it's pretty. All the moving averages are stacked the way they should be. Yeah, I have no issue with this whatsoever. It is building up a little bit of energy by getting that little 6-day sideways chop there. And a nice pick here, Frank. Good job.
Thank you. And on a targeting on something like this, and I don't know if this is what you guys do or not, but this is one of the easiest things to target to me, because we've got such a consistent $6 range that we've been trading in since November. So I would expect that a $6 run past that breakout, if we get it, would be a reasonable expectation. So whether it's a first or a second target, that puts us at $48. I kind of think that $48 to $50 is kind of the general target zone, but I like to use that range to set up the target in these long sideways type of patterns. That's how I've always liked to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Breakout, Frank.
It's very consistent too. I didn't notice that, but it's very consistent in the amount of movement it has before it pauses. So yeah, that's a beauty.
Looking good, Frankie.
So we
Nice
got
couple breakouts in a row. Yeah.
A couple of breakouts, and I have more breakouts than pullbacks today myself. And I don't know about the rest of the crew, because there are a lot of those flags or those flaggy type of patterns, right? That need a little, for me, I'm very particular. I always like when I have those, like Johnson Controls, JCI, for example, is one that I'm looking at. But I always like to see it work into the top of the channel, get pushed down and put in a higher low on the intraday, and then break that channel from there. So I'm pretty particular in how I like to trade those type of patterns. There's a lot of them out there, whether it's Johnson Control or somebody else. I mean, there are a ton of these deeper flag type of patterns, and they just are going to need, in my opinion, a little bit of work. They're trades that probably are like Tuesday or Wednesday trades as opposed to Monday trades for me. Mm-hmm. And I know some people like to just come in right when it breaks the trend line, if that's what happens. And I think that's a legit way to do it. I like to see kind of the reversal on the intraday and kind of see it put in that higher low and then break the resistance. But that's more of my preference, I guess, than anything else.
Well, and you're going to be able to have a take your pick kind of situation on many of these. And I do agree. I think the way that you have to decide when it comes down to it, whether you take one or the other, do you have a clear pathing to where your trigger is, right? That intraday trigger is always very helpful. Emily, you mentioned simple. I like going in on the intraday and saying, okay, where's my entry? Is it very clear to me? If I can get an intraday breakout, then I know my trigger is also going to confirm at that time. And then Frank, I actually don't mind on flags to play the old scale in trick.
Sure.
Where once you get the intraday, maybe you add half your position. And then if you can break the high, right, then you add the other half, so you can kind of plan your trade in many different ways and get creative with this stuff when you're looking at patterns like this.
For sure. Yeah. And I kind of go just the opposite way. I like to scale out at that first level of resistance on them. But scaling in and out, I mean, those things are, people, you know me, Tim, I say this a lot to a lot of people. They're not used as much as I think they should. We often get stuck in this day or go, yes or no type of area. And unless we have one contract or one share, we can scale in, we can scale out. And I think it's one of the strongest tools for traders that is underutilized, very broadly speaking.
Yeah, I agree.
Everyone I talk to, I try to get them on board with scaling in, at least the idea of scaling in, scaling out. I'm much more of a scale out guy than a scale in guy, but that doesn't mean anything other than that's who I am, right?
But I like the mindset behind it. I'm with you. I think it's an underutilized principle, adding to, taking away a position based on your trade planning. Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think it helps.
I think with these pullbacks, like these flag patterns, right, that we're seeing right here, I think it's really beneficial to be legging into these kinds of things, because as you get that momentum going upwards, you're adding to that position. But if it starts to turn on you, which these things don't work out 100% of the time, you take a very, very small loss. But if it does start to go the way we want, just that 15-minute chart there, I identified a level here that I'd want to start a position right above that nice round number 60. But then you've got some overhead resistance around 69.50 there, or sorry, 60.50, I should say. You could enter, a second party position there, and then so on and so forth. Looking at the 6-month chart here, you probably got another level, right around 61, where you could go 3 levels in there, and by the time it got to your target at 65, you'd be pretty happy that it did. So yeah, I like the scale in bit, and this one on the 15-minute chart, as far as I'm concerned, looks fantastic. So
yeah, I agree.
Again, well done.
Nice. Yeah, and there's definitely characters out there that look like that. Johnson was not the only one that I found. I did find a Cody special on the weekly chart, but Cody is not here. But we can look at him anyway, and that's APA.
Last one.
Oh no, we'll give me 2 more. Give me 2 more. Yeah.
All right, 2 more.
Because you can't tell me last one. As I'm saying the symbol.
Yeah.
APA. Right. This is so Apache. This is who they were. They reorganized into a holding company, and that's why they're APA Corporation now. But this is the old Apache energy stock that we all have known and followed for quite some time. This is if we're interested in this energy pullback, we've got options. There's plenty of them. I was kind of interested in APA because of its weekly. It basically is a Cody special snapback on the weekly chart. It has worked into the old support zone, or old the resistance zone is currently testing that as support. I wanted this candle because I think we are playing this one kind of on the weekly chart. At least that's kind of the fundamental basis for the trade. I want to see it take out this weekly candlestick high. Assuming we're able to hold this low, I would expect we can in, with little time is left in the market. Breaking above that high, just treating it like a Cody special instead of on a daily chart. It's just a snapback on the weekly on the retracement of the breakout point.
God, it makes it so smooth when you go to the weekly.
It does.
I like that.
Slowing momentum, beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Slowing momentum within the candles. Now, it's not there yet. You still have a red candle this week, obviously. You got to get confirmation. That's where you come back to the daily, the intraday, and you start mapping it out. But that trend on that weekly chart definitely reversal characteristics. And, let's call it like it is. I still believe in the reopening theme. It is the nature of markets right now. They're teaching a lot of beginners and veterans alike a lesson. We don't go straight up, Frank. A lot of people were a little bit pampered over the last 12 months during some of these stretches, right? And we're taking a little break the last few weeks, especially in energy, especially in reopening themes. There's been all kinds of news and narratives around rising yields and, COVID lockdowns, but then you got vaccine stuff. So you got headlines that are mixed. Reality is we're reopening the economy this year. People are going to travel more. They're going back to work. Energy is still a good play moving forward. These type of patterns, you got to be patient with them and get that technical clarity, Frank. But I love that weekly. And I think you just got to map it out from there. And maybe it is that $20 mark that you drew, Greg. I mean, I don't know. I haven't done the intraday yet, but somewhere in there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you got a couple of spots here where you could jump in again. You could scale into something like this, and again, it's so healthy because if you put a part position on now and it fails, which it could, it's just hanging on to that 50, right? Mm-hmm. If it fails, okay, no harm, no foul. You've got maybe 1/5 of your normal position or 1/3 of your normal position. But if it starts to break these levels and get above these moving averages, geez, you'd have a heck of a run here. You'd have a $4 run here on an $18 stock. That'd be fantastic, right? And that would just be back to that old high there. Who knows if it breaks out beyond that. So yeah, this beauty, just a beauty setup. You can look at it the intraday, like you said, scale in a little bit, get above this 200 period moving average intraday. Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So seen a lot of this recently. So that's good.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of that. One more. I'm like a little kid and I'm going to throw a fit. No, I don't want to. All right. One more. Then I'll choose VIRT, Virtue Financial. Little high base breakout. They do have some old history, but nothing substantial, at least in my personal opinion, until the 3750 ballpark. So there is room above us. Not saying that would necessarily be our target, but there is not a lot of resistance above us. I like that we've held up relative to the financial sector. I like that we're putting in a little bit of a cup and handle. If we look at a shorter term time frame, like say an hourly type of a chart, it's going to look like a little bit of a cup and handle. Just an easy high base breakout type of trade. If I see fast momentum coming back into the market or into the financial sector as a whole, I like the cleanliness. I like the straight lininess, right, of charts. And I think these guys kind of fit into that camp for me.
Now, would you wait till you get above this high there, Frank?
Let's see. Yeah, I think you
30,
need to.
44, or
I would personally, yes. I think we would want to see it to take out to that resistance level. For me, my breakout rules on high bases, I don't need a close. I just need to break it by a percentage of an ATR. That's my regular breakouts, I do need to close. So I would just have my order, whatever my rule above that, resistance at 30, 44, whatever that is. Just a cheap little, risk reward type of a play, nothing crazy, nothing fancy here on these guys. We'd have a couple of options, either using today's low as a stop loss or the low of the base, depending on how much room we wanted to give it. So we'd have a few options that I think could make sense from a stop perspective.
Beauty. Beauty.
I like it. I like
Me
it. Another
too.
beautiful breakout. Emily.
I love it.
Yeah.
2 good ones.
Lots of good
Thank
ones.
you.
We know Coach Frank's always bringing the heat. We know we know what we're getting ready for on these Fridays. Frankie, I know I've got to cut you off at some point because I know if I actually looked at that piece of paper, you have about 200 stocks on that piece of paper.
I know if you didn't make me stop, there's always one more I could talk about, right? So I understand completely. I just don't like it.
He is the infomercial, but wait, there's more.
But wait,
Frank's
more.
the Columbo. Frank's the Columbo of stock trading. One more thing,
Yep, there's always one more. There's always time for one more chart, as far as I'm concerned.
Always room.
I always said that about beer, but charts are good too.
All right, guys, let's start wrapping the show up. Greg, can you head over to the website real quick? I want to make sure people know how to find the Women in Trading webinar here tonight. Head to Tackle Trading. A couple things. Number one, as always, guys, if you're out there watching, we appreciate you guys so much. You're the reason we do all the work that we're doing here over at Tackle Trading, giving you analysis and insight and content, and webinars, all kinds of stuff. We love to promote the things we're putting on there so that we can get eyes and attendance to it as well. And Coach Emily, you've been doing the Women in Trading webinars now for several years. I think I'm trying to think about that this morning. When did you start these? What was it? 3 years ago?
Oh, it's been about about 3 years now. We started off with blogs and then we started doing the webinar. So it's kind of evolving slowly but surely. And it's, we're gaining strength and getting more women to be involved and, talk and engage. So it's really one of my fun projects. And I love hosting the Women in Trading webinars on Friday nights. It's really one of my favorite things to do every month.
I don't ever attend them per your request. I do honor and respect those requests, so I don't attend them. But I always hear great feedback here and there, from different members of our community that do let me know how things are going. So enjoy it tonight. Have a lot of fun. You can obviously find that right from the events page on the right that Greg's showing. Scroll up to the top as well, Greg, in case somebody's brand new to Tackle Trading. If you're ever looking for an event, highlight the Trade Center over there, a couple buttons in, and then if you hit that events calendar, you can find all the stuff we're putting on from a webinar perspective, our morning lounges, our shows. And I don't know why it's bringing it out. Maybe not live.
I hit the button too quick.
Oh, okay.
Premature buttoning.
That's all right. And then here we are. This is where you can find it. So definitely, Frankie, you and I get the night off. We don't even get to attend this Women in Trading.
Yeah. So you're going to watch some Friday Night SmackDown with me? Is that what we're doing?
Bro, I'd get down with that.
There you go.
I mean, who's wretling tonight? What would we be expecting?
I don't know. Well, I don't know what we'll be expecting. We'll be expecting Edge to be there. The great Canadian Edge. Back after he had a very serious injury, had to retire. And after about a decade, he had fought himself back. So, that's an awesome story to hear. And so you see probably Roman Reigns, the champ. Who knows what else? The boss, Sasha Banks.
What about Ricky the Dragon Steamboat or Roddy Piper or Andre the Giant? Back when wrestling was wrestling.
Unfortunately, two of those three are no longer with us, my friend.
I know.
It's unfortunate. Hey, listen, they've recently, Peacock Network recently, and Universal recently acquired the WWE Network, and it's over there on that Peacock streaming service. You can probably find some real old school stuff there, Greg, if you are interested.
I'm certain I could see it. Yeah,
Peacock. Sure. I got to get another streamer. I guess I will. There's nothing wrong. I think Peacock's pretty cheap too. Like
I just use their free one because I need another paid service. And there's some ads, and there's some that you can't watch, and there's some that you can. But they've got a pretty decent selection on the free side, and their ads aren't too annoying, and they're not too they don't take up too much of your watch time. So
they got a free.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't know how this happened, but my cable bill used to be like $100 a month. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to get in all these streaming services, you know, $395 a year, $495. Now it's like $420 a month with all the streaming services. I don't know how that happened exactly, but
There's probably something else in there, my friend.
another $5 a month for Peacock, I guess. I don't
There you
know,
go. Well, you get Peacock and access to all of the WWE catalog if you go that route. It's good $5.
Nice.
One last thing I want to promote here, maybe two actually. Click the huddle up there, Greg. You know, we started producing the podcast this week. We've been doing the top 5 write-ups for several months now, and actually we're starting to put the audio out there on a daily basis here this week. Guys, if you're a member of our community, this is a free podcast. We are very excited about it. We'd love you to support it. You know, we really would. And, you know, to go and read through the article if that's the way that you get the content better or easier for yourself, or subscribe it to it through the podcasting service. In fact, if you click on that iTunes ones right there, Greg, it will take you directly to an iTunes page where you can find the direct, thing for the podcast, listen to that day's episode, whatever it might be, and then click in subscribe. And if you do love this podcast, one of the best ways we can get the word out as a community is you guys supporting it and giving us a 5-star review on iTunes, because that does help the analytics quite a bit and helps us get more people into the community here at Tackle Trading. So we would appreciate your support on those things.
Yeah, and that's a cool new thing that you guys got going on there. I like podcasts as long as I can listen to them on like not a podcast provider, because I don't know how to do that. I'm a old school character, so that is really cool. I've enjoyed the top 5 stories, and I love that now I can just spend my mornings, if I'm not literally spending them with you or Matt, I can at least figuratively spend them with you guys. So I appreciate it. I enjoy it. I would definitely encourage others to check it out.
I'm glad, man. And if you don't have a podcast app, Spotify, I don't know if you use Spotify, Frank.
No, I've always listened to the TJ podcast just over on tradingjustice.com. I don't do I don't do it.
And you can absolutely do that right here. That play button every day will allow you to kind of go through that audio, so you can do it straight through the website. So
yep.
You got an iPhone, Frankie?
I'm an Android.
Hey guys, take it easy. We just got him to get the camera back on. Don't push it, okay?
I don't push it. I still got the flip phone. I got the Matrix phone.
We just got him back on camera.
I got the BlackBerry. I got the BlackBerry from 1983. So
there you go.
Guys, that is going to be our show here for the day. What's up with the SPY, Linda? One quick last peek at SPY. Doing a little intraday selling. I'm not seeing anything across the wire, Linda. I wouldn't worry about it too much. We're still up 0.5%. Let's watch and see how this thing closes. You know, it's been a choppy back and forth week. It wouldn't surprise me to get a little bit of volatility into the close. Like Greg said, it is options expiration day as well. And you can always get a little weirdness in the last couple hours of trading. So I wouldn't overthink it.
Until we, maybe we break the intraday trend or anything like that. But in this, for me, Linda, in this type of market, I expect that, to be quite honest with you. The big thing I'm watching is how do we hold. Now, if I'm a day trader, obviously that's a ways away, but I expect that we're going to see some sort of a pullback, whether it's later today or whatever. I think that's very normal. And as long as that low holds from yesterday, I don't think it's overly technically concerning to me, at least. So I don't expect, I hope, from a bullish point of view, I always hope it just goes straight up, right? But I'm not surprised at all that there's going to be some give and take. I really want to make sure that low holds, though. That's the price that really jumps out to me as it really stands out right now.
I agree. All right, guys. We're
one last thing, Tim.
Hey, Mark.
Listen, we'll analyze that last second price action. Mind of a trader at the closing bell, where we go over commodities. Hey, commodities holding up well today. Bitcoin, oil, copper, those type of things. There was a good dip buying opportunity this week there. But we'll go over all that and answer any questions. Mind of trader closing bell, 1 hour and 10 minutes over at Tackle Trading. You can find it on the events calendar.
Yeah, absolutely. Sweet. Glad you popped in there, Marky. If you're a pro member, do not miss that last hour of the week with Coach Mark right there on that events page that we were just at. You can find that access point and go through all this price action with Mark as the markets are closing up the week. All right, guys, we are done. We're out. We'll see everybody back on Monday with the halftime report. Same time, same station. Have a wonderful